Well, I can. I'll once I get everything together, I'll try to pull it up and bring it one day.
Now we'll bring Jim Alexander up to give our invocation.
Let's pray. As we gather here today as members of Rotary, we pray that we take every opportunity to render service to our fellow citizens and to our community, always keeping in mind the enduring values of life, exerting our efforts in those areas and on those things upon which future generations can build with confidence. As all Rotarians does continue to strive to make this a better world. In your holy name. Amen. Take it, please. I'm privileged to introduce the guests today, and the guests can stand and remain standing. This group, Ben Brown, Curtis, well, Darian Shaw, Herb Cross, Allison Hernandez, Matt Pikes. Welcome to Rotary.
We don't have a lot of announcements today. If you weren't here last week, we did go over our sponsorships for our Youth Service Awards and our challenge competition. If you want to pick up one of these on the way out, they're out at the outside table. What I would like you to do is to make sure we have your correct address in your My Rotary. I would recommend logging in on your computer rather than the app. It gets a little clunky when you're trying to do things on the app. So if you can get that all updated, we want to make sure we have the right information for everyone. Next, I will invite Gail Virgil, our chair of the day.
Good afternoon, everyone. Today, I have the pleasure of introducing our guest speaker. Her name is Koch. She is a professor of information systems and business analytics at Baylor, where she teaches courses on emerging technologies and the future of business. A proud fifth-generation Texan, Koch has deep roots in Waco. Her father and grandfather played a role in building Lake Waco, and her uncle co-wrote Wild Side of Life, which is Waco's legendary country star, Hank Thompson. First to attend college, Hope is dedicated to her community and to the next generation of Texans. She currently serves on the Board of Trustees at Temple College and is the director of First National Bank, Texas. Together with her husband, Kevin, they've managed the Callaway Foundation since 2002. The foundation provides scholarships to every student from C.H. High School in Cameron, Texas. Hope is a big fan of Rotary. In 2021, the Temple Rotary Club South awarded Hope and her husband, Kevin, with the Paul Harris Award for their work in passing the largest school bond in Temple ISD's history. In addition to her professional work, Hope and Kevin are passionate endurance athletes with a special connection to Waco's fitness community. You'll often find them racing in local events like the Waco Wild West Bike Tour, the Waco Triathlon, and the Marathon. Please join me in welcoming Hope.
Thank you, Gail, for the introduction, and thank all of you guys for having me. So I'm going to give you kind of a snapshot of what my class looks like. So I started teaching at Baylor when the internet was the emerging technology. And so my class is never stale because the technology always progresses, and so I'm always learning what the latest thing is. And so hopefully I'll kind of give you some ideas as I know you serve on boards and as you're making decisions, got your guidelines about how your board's going to use these latest technologies. So first, let me introduce you to Michael. Several years ago, Michael was riding his motorcycle and he swerved to miss an animal. In that process, he crashed his motorcycle into a bench, and the doctor told him he would be paralyzed for the rest of his life. Thanks to an artificial intelligence implant, which you can see at the top of the screen, doctors implanted that device in him, and it improved the communication between his brain and his legs, and now he is able to walk. So in the coming years, we are going to see more of this type of thing, and it can be very positive in terms of improving people's qualities of life. So today I'll talk to you about innovating with integrity and building a secure future. And so as I talk to you, I'm going to talk about the coming wave of technology. So the technology, I know all of you guys, I talked to you before the meeting, and I know you all have businesses and have worked in businesses for decades. And so the technologies we've had since the 50s, they could all gather information, they could process information, and then most recently with the mobile phone and social media, we can communicate. This next wave of technology can actually do things on our behalf. And so it's a whole mix of things. And so that's why I will refer to it as the coming wave. And if you're asked, I know many of you are on boards, and if you're asked to come up with policies about AI on the boards, I would recommend, one, that you use it, and two, that you read this book. It was a Financial Times Best Book of the Year, The Coming Wave. Okay, so traditionally, when we implemented new technology, this is what was the adoption curve. And so first your friends that were, the technologists would adopt the technology, and then there would be early adopters, and then the majority would adopt it. But the point is with all the other technologies, we had time to plan. We had time for a few people to use it. We could kind of see how it worked, and before just everybody was using it, we could have guidelines and policies. This is what the adoption curve looks like today. So as you can see, it took, this is how long did it take for these different technologies to reach a 1 million or 100 million users. ChatGPT was, it was unleashed in November of 2022. And again, I teach a class, Emerging Technologies, the Future of Business. The students were the first to discover it because it was great at writing the term papers. And also, we were still largely in an online situation with teaching everywhere that they were. So it was also great at taking their final exams. And so I actually, while all the universities were getting used to this, January of 23, I started in my class and I centered the whole class around artificial intelligence. And we had major projects around it, but the point of the diagram is that technology adoption, you don't have time. Here you had time to think through it. Here the technology comes out and you've got 100 million users in one day. So the point is you need to use it, you need to understand it, and we need to descend on our guiding values to think about how we're going to use that technology. So the state of Texas, the Texas legislature, they're going to start meeting, we meet every 2 years. They're going to start meeting in January of 25. And I went and read the interim charges by Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick of what the state of Texas is going to work on. And one of their big charges with education is developing policies for the use of artificial intelligence in public schools. We're looking at, we're making these policies over 2 years after ChatGPT created, came to have 100 million users. So given that the technology's unleashed, we're all using it, and it takes a while to develop some policies. What we're going to have to rely on as we use it are our guiding values and our ethics, because it's coming out to make our decisions, it's coming out so quickly. So you guys, with your businesses, and with the Rotary, and with the churches, and all the different clubs that you're meeting, you're facing the innovator's dilemma, which is, do I just keep doing what I've always been doing, that's been pretty successful, or do I pay attention to things that can disrupt my business and then experiment with them, even if I don't like where they're going or like what they could potentially do to the business? The big lesson or takeaway from this class or this session is that you do need to stay on top of the new things, even if you think it could end up hurting your business, because you're going to need to kind of reposition that business given different changes in technology and changes in consumer preferences. Let me give you a couple of examples from history. Oh man, I had a picture of Willie Nelson. Okay, so I don't know why you're missing the Willie Nelson picture, but picture this, and I think some of you guys can remember this. 1975, Willie Nelson, his 4th of July parties, and it had a whole crowd of people at Willie's 4th of July party. And that was also the time, not all that that was also the time when the digital camera came out, when Koch invented the digital camera. And Koch said, oh, we have this cool digital camera, let's take it around and show it to some people. But then they said, we're not going to do anything with it because we make too much money from film. So we're just not going to tell anybody about this. And as a result, Kodak's out of business today. It was not their choice with the digital camera. And this is what a concert looks like today. So everybody's got their Everybody has their cameras and, yeah, just kind of quite popular. Other examples of companies that did, they were just kind of doing their thing, they're listening to their company, their customers, and just kind of improving their business and not paying attention to the new technology was Sears. You know, I loved Sears. How many of you shopped at Sears? You know, I bet you looked at that Sears catalog and picked out your new clothes for fall. Sears actually had it all. They had the catalog, they had the order network, they had relationships with all the suppliers. All they had to do was put it on the internet. And if you read a great book about Jeff Bezos and Amazon, when he started using the internet to sell things, he went to Barnes and Noble and bought the books. He went to Toys R Us. He didn't have any of the relationships. And but ultimately, he took down Sears because he paid attention to the new technology. So we don't want this to be the Downtown Rotary Club of Waco, or any of the businesses that you're a part of. So hopefully some of the takeaways from today can help you with that. So what I would say is the number one thing you need to do is embrace a growth mindset, which is what everybody in here does, because you are here every Monday listening to a variety of people that you may not agree with, but it's also giving you some good ideas. And I want to call out Mr. K. Paul Holt. If K. Paul, you can stand up. I think he is you haven't missed a meeting in how many years?
Almost 36.
36 years. You can have a seat now. I think he's a great example of a growth mindset because he's actually serves on the board of MCC. And then he goes to a lot of different, I know he goes to a lot of the community college conferences at the state and national level. But when you go to all those conferences and are on different boards, go to the Rotary, you're going to pick up some different ideas. And so very good ideas for innovating. So one thing that where a lot of my ideas from this session come from is the South by Southwest conference in Austin, Texas. They have a music festival, but they also have a tech conference during the week. And I went to the tech conference for the first time this year. It was always a little cost prohibitive, the conference for me, but I decided I was going to go. And it was so well worth it, just in terms of new ideas. So you get new tech ideas, but also just new ideas in terms of where society is going. So how many of you graduated from Baylor or are affiliated with Baylor? Okay, a good number of us in the room. With me working at Baylor for 20-something years, I have never drank. Just kind of part of the deal. But I was so happy when I was at the South by Southwest conference and they were talking about a consumer trend, and it was a whole session. It was the new trend in drinking, not drinking. And so recently I've been reading about how all the beer companies are coming out with non-alcoholic versions of their beer, and how there are now bars that don't serve alcohol. And so my point is just go to different conferences and then sign up for the craziest sessions that you would never, ever attend, and then you can end up walking away with some very innovative ideas. So I actually went to mostly the sessions that related to what I teach and do research at Baylor. So I'm going to hit you with 5 tech trends to be aware of, and also going to give you some homework on each one of them, because I was visiting with some of you, and it sounds like, how many of you guys are on boards of some type? Okay, the whole room of board members. Most likely, your board is going to be coming up with a policy on artificial intelligence. And very important that you use this stuff before it done. You know what? I have a teacher voice, so I will let them fix the microphone, and you can hear me. Can you hear me okay? Okay, so very important that you use the technology before you start making policies about how your organization will use it. I have the privilege of working for a plane company when Walmart owned them. When the internet came out, and there was a whole group of people at the board meeting,
making policies about the internet, and their rule was that we would have one person in a whole distribution center to use the internet, and the internet would be in the president's office. He was the only person that could use it. But they had not started making policies, and they had not used the internet. And so I would say with your organizations, as you're making the policies, you need to use all this stuff, and then that'll kind of help you with the policies. So the first one I'm going to talk to you about is artificial intelligence, big data, multimodal learning, total immersion, and then tech convergence and acceleration. Okay, so artificial intelligence actually runs on chips. So do you remember during COVID when we couldn't have, couldn't get cars and things because we didn't have chips? So it runs on semiconductor chips, and we actually need a lot of chips for the artificial intelligence to work. America, there's a book that came out a couple of years ago called The Chip War, which if you like history, and like history of technology and politics, I definitely recommend reading The Chip War. But it talks about how semiconductor chips are so important for our national security. And also how the AI has played a big role with national security also. But as given how important AI is, okay.
America passed the U.S. CHIPS Act, and then the state of Texas also passed the Texas CHIPS Act. So there's a lot going on in America in the state of Texas with producing the high-end semiconductor chips that will run the artificial intelligence. I have, through a stroke of luck, I'm a trustee at Temple College, and Taylor, Texas is in our service area. And so the largest semiconductor manufacturing, one of the largest semiconductor manufacturing plants by Samsung, and also the largest foreign investment on Texas soil ever, is going in Taylor, Texas, 75 miles from downtown Waco. And it is going to, they're a little bit delayed on when it is going to open. So right now they're saying 2026, but it is going to be 2,000 high-paying jobs for people of Central Texas, and our community colleges are gearing up to make sure that we can provide the workforce, our community college and TSDC, to make sure we can provide that workforce training so that people can get those high-end, those jobs producing those semiconductor chips. Now, there's a lot of concern. How many of you are a little nervous about artificial intelligence? Raise your hand, just be honest. Okay, and so I would actually, so I'm a business professor, and I chose business to teach business because I totally believe in business degrees, and I'm very proud that my students can go through a business school training and they can get a great job. And so that is kind of what I'm all about. But my biggest concern with the artificial intelligence is that it is smart. And if you've worked with it, it can do things very, very well. So I'm very concerned about job displacement with it. And but I would say that you and I are not the only people that are worried. So if you watched the Top Gun Maverick show, the movie that came out a couple of years ago, there is a scene where Admiral Kane is talking to Captain Maverick. And Captain Maverick developed his flying skills through the U.S. military, over a very long time. It took a lot of training. And then the captain is telling him, he's saying, hey, in a few years, we're not going to need pilots like you because we're going to go alone. And so that I think that movie captures the tension that we all feel with the artificial intelligence. So these are some of the industries that where artificial intelligence can do a lot of the work, or the projections. And so we've got the number one is Gail, who introduced me. She works in banking, And so there's a largest industry where artificial intelligence can take on a lot of the tasks. And then there's a fellow that works for an insurance company. And so insurance is the second area where artificial intelligence can do a lot of the tasks. And so we all need to be, you all need to use the artificial intelligence. And so I gave this talk to a group of retired veterans. And they were members of a Harper Pikes Rotary Club. And there were two parts of the talk where I was so glad that I was a seasoned teacher. And this was one of them, and where they all had opinions, and they were telling me that the artificial intelligence was not smarter than them. And then I was kind of wanting to tell them, well, I teach this stuff, and I pay for the paid subscription to ChatGPT, and I'll tell you what, me with the artificial intelligence, really smart. So that is just kind of something to think about. And two pieces of artificial intelligence that are coming out. One is on Friday. Apple released their new iPhone. And so that new iPhone has some new semiconductor chips that can help if we can do more artificial intelligence on the iPhone. And this speech took me a little time to put together, but I'm telling you, as soon as this speech is over, I'm going to trade in my iPhone for this new AI phone. Most of them have already seen how it works because I teach this stuff, but then also it's supposed to be fundamentally different. And there hasn't been, I'm still with my iPhone that I currently have. I bought in 2018 because I didn't really see that big of a difference with the technology, but I think this is going to be fundamentally different. If you're in the market for a new PC, I would recommend that you get an artificial intelligence PC. So Hewlett-Packard announced those in March. And so it would be the idea that you would have your own large language model on your PC. So how many of you have used ChatGPT? Okay, a good number of you. So the idea of an artificial intelligence PC is that the PC would know everything you know. And when you start getting emails like saying, hey, are you available to do blah, blah, blah speech, the AI could respond for you rather than you, and then you can just kind of check. So that's kind of the idea. It can take actions on your behalf. Okay, so in your tables, just briefly, just talk each other in the tables for a minute and tell everybody the coolest thing you have used the artificial intelligence for.
You're out. With AI, and he's got his own large language model. And so, Ricky, could you share?
So I actually host my own large language model at home. It's about 224 terabytes right now, running on two NVIDIA 49. I've actually set it up not to just be the coolest kid in the room, but for the future. Like, I don't have children, but I have godchildren, I have nieces, nephews. So when I'm no longer in this realm, they'll be able to walk up to it and say, hey, what's my uncle doing this time? It has access to every picture, every email, anything that I grant access to is indexed to be able to find. It now has access to my email, like she was saying, like I'm getting junk or whatever. It actually moves it to a special folder and I just look at it. It's about 98% efficient. I've been training it for the last 6 months. The only thing is the downside to it is power consumption. That's it.
Ricky, that's a good example, and thank you so much for sharing that. So very soon, we're going to all have our own own large language models, and you're not going to have to be a big tech person to have it. So just, yes, kind of something to be aware of. The next thing, the AI, so Ricky said he was training it for the past 6 months, and that his large language model has all of the pictures. So for the AI to work, it actually runs on data. And this is just a pretty picture that I liked from 2020, and it shows how much data that is produced every minute of every day. So you can see how many Facebook posts, how many Amazon shipments, how many Zoom calls are recorded. But the point is there is a lot of data, and now our systems capture all of that data. So what it creates is a flywheel effect, where the more data you have, the more you can do, and then the more data you have. But you, in terms of innovation with integrity, it's your job as leaders of the Rotary Club and on all these boards that you're on, is thinking about ethical ways of using the data. So let me give you just a couple of examples. So being in Texas, we are all football fans, and we love the Cowboys, even though things aren't going as well as we would hope. But if you saw a great movie, is the movie Concussion. And that movie helped us kind of all realize that football is a dangerous sport, and all the hits are kind of problematic. And so now, to help deal with the safety issue, the NFL has put chips in players' mouth guards, in their shoulder pads, and also in their helmets to measure the hits and kind of look out for the safety of the players. Now, you're shaking your head, Hayes, and that makes a lot of sense. And to me, that also that makes a lot of sense. Well, let me give you another one, and realize I'm trying to come up with shocking things. So the U.S. military, they are experimenting with weaving monitoring technology into our soldiers' uniforms. And the idea is that they could monitor the soldiers' physical health and the conditions that they're under, also monitor different conditions and the impact on their mental health. And then, if they're in combat, would be a way to kind of see where they are and what they're dealing with. Now, guess what the Harker Heights Rotary Club told me when I gave them this example?
Hey, Paul, what's your opinion there?
Yeah, that was the Harker Heights Rotary Club. They actually were very quick to tell me the U.S. government, there was no way the government was monitoring them through their clothes. So that seems a little bit kind of disturbing. But again, we've got all the technology. It takes a while for the policies to come out. It's up to you as voters, as leaders, to rely on your values to make the decisions about how this technology is going to be used. The trend number 3 is multimodal learning. So this is the idea that the technology it can have cameras, so it can see things, it can hear things, and it can also kind of touch and feel things. So this is what I would like your assignment, what I'd like you all to do is ride in a Waymo. So get on the waiting list. The Waymo, I'm on the waiting list. The Waymo started testing in Austin in March of this year. So it's driving around Austin, learning the city. And starting in early 2025, it is going to start doing passenger testing, where we can all ride in it. They are fully functioning in San Francisco, Phoenix, Arizona, and Los Angeles, California. This is where my talk to the Harker Heights Rotary Club ended. So they all had extreme opinions about the Waymo, and my takeaway from it was, if you are going to do a Waymo business, please don't try to get that by the Harker Heights City Council. Do we have any car dealers in the room? So we clearly have a lot of car dealers. And so the thing to think about in terms of disruptive technologies is I want you to all ride in a Waymo, because if you do that, your opinions will change. And kind of the way you want to do things and your preferences will change. And so, so if you look here, this is a survey, and the number of people that are interested in a car that you buy and drive around has declined, where it's like -10 for the future. The number of people that want something like a Waymo that they can just call for on their phone that'll show up to their house and take them somewhere, that is increased by 70-fold. So just put some ideas there. So the Waymo, you may not be into the Waymo, but there are actually now AI-powered lawnmowers. So similar to a Waymo, but rather than you cutting your yard or having somebody come do it, you can have an AI-powered lawnmower, and it can actually sense if your cat is there or where your flowers are. So it kind of maps the yard and then would mow the yard. Okay, the last thing I would say that you need to experience is the Internet of Experiences. So right now, the Internet is kind of like text, and you go out and you read it, or maybe it kind of navigates you to a place. Very soon, in fact, the technology already exists, you are actually going to be able to be part of the Internet. And so I tried this out initially at the South by Southwest conference at the Creative Expo. So that conference has this expo that runs for about a week with all the new technology. And one day, they have it open to the community. So if you don't want to pay the hefty price tag to go down to South by Southwest, you could go on the community day and just spend all day at the Creative Expo and see what new things they have. I ended up at the U.S. National Reconnaissance booth, and I put on these funny glasses. This isn't at this booth, this is actually at the Apple store. I put on the funny glasses, and they showed me all the satellites orbiting the Earth. Some of them belong to America, some of them to China, but you could go up and you could look at all the satellites and kind of determine what they were. So I wanted to take that a step further. So I made, and you need to go do this is your homework. Go online, go to the Apple website, and book yourself an appointment at the Apple store to get the demo for the Apple Vision Pro. I don't recommend that you buy the Vision Pro because it's too expensive, and I don't know exactly what you would do with it right now. But the demo is good for kind of helping your mind work. I put on the Apple Vision Pro, and I really got to go up to Mount Hood, and it felt like I was at the top of Mount Hood. Then I was in the movie Jurassic Park. And the dinosaurs were so real that I was reaching out for them. And finally, there was an Alicia Keys concert. And so it was very much like I was at the concert. I think these, I can actually see the glasses being very useful for training emergency room employees. Or also training firefighters, and you're putting them in the real situations there. But anyway, you need to definitely try out the Apple Vision Pro. So my point is, how many of you guys just feel like you're so behind with the technology?